Hi, it's Dustin Hahn here, and thanks for tuning in. This video is a follow-up video to the presentation that I did at the Mind Valley Insights talk. So for those of you guys that are just tuning in, what I did is I gave a talk on productivity and implementation. So just to kind of recap, what we went ahead and talked about is how to double your productivity using a new type of productivity system. What we identified during that presentation is a lot of the productivity systems are fundamentally flawed. We go ahead, we implement all these sorts of things, we try a new system and it maybe works for a couple days, and then all of a sudden the deadlines are flying by and we're right back to doing what we used to do before, which is not being very productive, wasting a lot of our time surfing around the internet, and wasting our best, most productive hours doing things that are not in favor of our Pareto's principle of 80-20. So what we want to do is take, obviously, the 20% of the things we do that get us 80% of our results and put them into a system to where we consistently follow through and make ourselves, more productive. So what we went and covered during the presentation is what's missing from most systems that people set up for productivity. So as I mentioned in the presentation, what's missing from common systems that people implement are things like punishment, commitment, accountability, and reward. So what I want to do is just take a few minutes and go through and elaborate what I covered in the presentation. If you missed the presentation, don't worry about it. I'll try to fill you in as best I can during this little brief interview. But what we're going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit this productivity system, and then we're going to jump over to the computer and I'm going to show you this 3-for-3 accountability system that I created that has made drastic improvements in my life for getting things done. So why am I doing this? Maybe you're thinking right now, and the reason I'm doing that is because, I've tried every productivity system out there. Most of them don't work. And when you go ahead and you think about maybe the times you accomplish the most in your life, it comes down to a lot of the times we hold ourselves accountable, kind of like throwing our backpack over the fence type thing. And when you hold yourself accountable to somebody else, you'll often go ahead and do more than what you would normally do for yourself. So why not create a system where we can include that into creating a productivity system for ourselves? So here's what that looks like. What I did is created a system with this 3-for-3 productivity where when we go ahead, we find an accountability partner to work with. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to find somebody that's maybe a friend or a relative, somebody that's involved with maybe your business or friendship, and you're going to post your productivity and the tasks you want to accomplish. Now, just the fact of doing that by saying to a friend, okay, this is what I want to do today, you're already setting up your mind to work in favor for accomplishing your tasks because you've now told them. So whereas before, where you go ahead and you do something for somebody else, this time you're doing something for yourself, however, you're still holding yourself accountable. Now, the other thing we did during this presentation is I talked about creating an evidence factor and a penalty. So what I'm going to show you in a minute on the computer is exactly how I set this up through my Basecamp account, how I go ahead, how I post the evidence, and how I put this system in place. Now remember, you want to set up a deadline and your tasks with the evidence factor. If you don't have that in place, the system doesn't work very well. When we combine that with a penalty for not following through, it activates certain parts of the brain that really push you to get things done. So for example, before I started using this system, I'd always have my typical to-do list, which was full of tasks that never got done. And the way I doubled my productivity was setting up this system with accountability, posting to my friend what I want to achieve and the evidence that I'm going to put in place, and then having a penalty if I don't follow through and post my evidence by the end of the day. So this was the missing piece for me, and I noticed that once you go ahead and you create some sort of penalty, it really motivates you. So like, for example, mine personally is flushing some money down the toilet because it's just a waste and it's painful. So when I don't follow through, that's my penalty. Now I've not followed through twice. It's been very painful for me, and it just exponentially makes me motivated to move on and create myself to the best version of me, which is more productive. So let's go ahead right now and let's jump to the computer. And I just want to kind of add to this. One of the reasons why this is so important and why it works so well is we have the accountability mixed with loss aversion. So a lot of us were twice as motivated by fear as a positive motivation. So why not mix this into a little bit of our daily productivity and our tasks to get more done to become the best version of ourselves and contribute the best to the world as possible, and use a little bit of that fear and penalty in moving forward. Now, I definitely believe in positive reward and positive reinforcement. However, it just doesn't seem to, the missing piece seems to be holding yourself accountable and creating some sort of penalty for yourself that is hard to, hard to deal with if you don't follow through. So let's go ahead right now, let's jump to the computer. I'm gonna take you through this system and show you exactly how I set it up and how it works for me. We're gonna do a little screenshot. This could be a two-part video because we're posting it on YouTube. Once again, take what you want from it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then that's fine. I just really wanted to commit and continue on elaborating to this presentation that I did for Mindvalley Insights. And depending on where you're watching this, maybe that video is posted here. But if it's not, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. And let's jump to the computer right now and see if there's anything within this system that you can grab to make yourself more productive. All right, let's go to the computer. Hi, welcome to the computer. So here we are right now. We're inside my Basecamp, which is where I run my 3-for-3 accountability system out of. I like running it through Basecamp because you can set it up with your accountability partner and it sends email notifications and all that sort of stuff so that you don't always have to log into this thing. And you're able to upload files and post your evidence. So I run most of my personal life out of Basecamp because remember what we were talking about in the presentation before is, 80% of our time is usually wasted on 20% of our results. So I like to run my personal life through this and then delegate a lot of that little stuff to my staff or my virtual assistants so that I can go ahead and grab only the most important things for my accountability challenge so that I can get massive productivity. So what I did is I created a project here called Dustin's Accountability, and then also my accountability partner also has his, it's Tim's Accountability. So we each have our own projects here within Basecamp, so I'll show you the overview of how this works. And if you're able to go ahead and take something from it, awesome. Now, you can do this also through a Google Doc if you don't have a Basecamp account, and there's also some free tools I think right now that work similar to this. I think one that a lot of people are using that's free is called Asana, and I know that's a free service that a lot of people are moving over to, which is excellent. Basecamp gives you 1 month free, but it's also after that I think 20 bucks a month. We use this because our whole business is built on that platform. Okay, so the premise of this is I create a to-do list for each day of the week. Now, the system is called 3-for-3. However, you can go ahead and you can choose more days per week if you like. Now, what we do here is I'll show you an example. First, I'll show you the overview and the parameters here. So the first thing I did when I started off my 3-for-3 accountability is I put the parameters in overview, basically. So the overview of my 3-for-3 program is this. At a minimum of 3 days per week, I must post a minimum of 3 tasks I need to accomplish for that day. It's optional for me to post more than 3 days per week and more than 3 tasks. The program may be paused upon announcements when vacations or adventures are planned. And criteria for each of the following tasks is this. Each task must be posted the night before. Each task must have a completion deadline. And each task must have an evidence factor. If a task has failed to be completed or evidence is not submitted, the negative consequence will be ripping up $250 and flushing it down the toilet live on Skype. If Skype session is not scheduled, I must video myself doing this and submit it. Help needed from Accountability Conrad is to reinforce that if shit does not get done, you're only hurting yourself. And if the task is not completed with evidence, the accountability partner needs to make sure the evidence is flush. So this is my basic overview and some of the parameters that I have set up for this system. Now, I'm showing you this for an example, right? So if you're interested in creating your own, think of something that you can create. This is what's fun about it. It's your own rules, but challenge yourself to come up with something that involves like the penalty or the punishment if you don't follow through on your accountability. Because remember, your brain is going to think your reputation is going to get hurt, and then there's the pain factor. So when we combine that with what's called loss aversion, it really motivates us so much faster to go ahead and get shit done, which is very, very exciting. And once I started doing this, my productivity skyrocketed.